It is 6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. All members are present, including our student reps. So we will get this started. There is no additions to the agenda, so we'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Agenda is presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Cheryl, second by Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. No public comment. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Cheryl, do you want to start with bills?
Sure.
It was all pretty much normal stuff. I did notice a payment went out for the band tour that's coming up. It was a pretty big payment, but it's going to be a pretty big tour.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty cool.
It's fun. Yep. And I was gonna check on the date confirmation, and I don't. Jesse, do you happen to remember the date off the top of your head?
Of the trip?
Yep.
I know it's next year, right before, it goes out right before Thanksgiving, I believe,
Typically around that time.
right around Thanksgiving. I don't have the exact dates.
We've been fundraising already and working towards it. Everybody's excited. I also saw the bill for the mold remediation.
So just to kind of let you as board members know so the bill was, can you remind me again, like $10,911?
$10,911.44.
So Service Masters was called when we had at the elementary school, when we had the STEAM issue. And when we saw that there was a potential of mold, it was very proactive to make sure that, because mold is kind of a big deal. And they did a really fabulous job. Instantly, they were there within hours. It was plasticed off, and they had, so that is the payment for the mitigation process. We did reach out to the Department of Ed and find out that is an eligible expense under our long-term facility maintenance dollars. And so I'm going to recommend to the board in March that we make a revision to that LTFM plan and pay for that mitigation from that plan. So
Those were the only two things that really stood out. The mold remediation really stood out to me because coming promptly like that and the amount of work they had to do and where they had to work it and when, I assumed it was a down payment.
yeah, nope, that's the bill.
That was the bill.
Yep. So Service Masters did a nice job for us. Looking at the rest of the agenda, most of our personnel, our hires at this time of year. We have some new teachers to fill our elementary positions. We have our ECFE, our early childhood family ed sessions. And part of the reason why those are systematically throughout the year is because we don't know what level of interest there's going to be. And so we offer those contracts based on classes and when they're, what the enrollment is. And then we also have a track coach and then our some pause workers. The one component I do want to call out for donations is we have a donation, and the reason I want to call this one out, besides saying thank you to the Legion for a $3,000 donation. Pays Lab is not Paynesville Area Elementary School Lab. It is the Pays Lab, which is it's a lab that is set up in a classroom to really have functional and foundational skill development and assessment for young adults with disabilities. And it's actually not only beneficial for students that have more significant disabilities, it's really helpful for students learning the soft skills of just getting a job at the front end in their first employment opportunity. And so the Pays Lab itself, we've been fundraising for a couple of years. It is approximately $40,000 because it is training modules that are set up, and there's probably there's a whole host of modules that students are able to go through. What we're working on is we've worked through the Community Foundation for some grants. We received some money from the Legion. We are also reaching out to our neighboring school districts to see who would be interested in contributing and then utilizing that same lab program. There is a similar program that's set up in Albany through our West Central Education District, but it's not super functional for us to send our students up for that far and try to be there for an hour a day and then come back. It's just too much time out of their school day. So we're really excited because we're getting closer, and we have Eden Valley Watkins, New London Spicer, Belgrade Bruno Rosa, ACGC that have all expressed interest in partnering with us. So it's getting way closer to becoming a reality. So we're really excited about that. So long-winded story to say thank you to the Legion for some additional money and bring it back to the forefront that we're getting closer to making that happen. So that's exciting. And I would just stand for any other questions that you have on the consent agenda.
No, I make the motion that we accept the consent agenda. Thank you folks for providing information.
Second.
Motion by Gerald, second by Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to the communication items.
Administrative report. So this is the time of year that we really do kind of begin the legislative conversation. So the legislature is back in action. I did want to, it is not a budget year, but there is still a lot of focus on where the budget is truly going to come in. So that we do expect the governor's forecast to come in end of this week, beginning of next week. But it is really the policy year. So we talk about things that are going to impact from a policy perspective without funding. One of the things that we truly are kind of keeping an eye on are things around cell phones, funding, and safety of buildings. So what I did here is I just wanted to kind of share with you some of the communication that I get from, for example, this is from the Minnesota Association of School Administrators, MASA. And so these are some of the bills, the Senate files. So those are the files that are moving through the Senate. And then down below are the House files. So again, the files that are moving through the House. And you can see many of the topics are going to be, if they're going to get traction, there's going to be similar in the House and the Senate to make things really come to fruition. So I just really linked this in. Board members, you'll have access to this if you want to click on the files, and anybody, these are all just linked to the Minnesota legislature, and it's the reviser file, so you can take a look at what's being proposed and drafted. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the reviser because sometimes you'll find things that are out there that have been proposed, and then after the session is done, they never go away, and you kind of wonder whatever happened with this. So it's nice to see what's proposed with the strike through and an underline, but this is kind of the way that the bills are introduced, and then they move through the process. So I just kind of put those up there for you to kind of keep an eye on if you'd like to. And I'll traditionally, I try to send those out a little bit more as I get them. I try to pass them along, and if people are interested, I'm happy to share what comes across my desk if they would have any interest in that. Another area of interest that I think is, I just wanted to highlight is that MSBA did share that there is a bill that has been introduced banning cell phones completely in grades K-8 and inside all classrooms at the high school level. And I know that's a conversation that has been had kind of about the pros and cons of cell phones systematically, but I think it is interesting that it's reaching that legislative level from a ban perspective. A couple of years ago, districts were required to have a policy or a procedure addressing cell phone use, which we have done, and we're going to actually talk about that in a little bit here. But just it's bringing a level of conversation, and I do expect it to gain traction. I'm expecting it to gain traction this legislative session. So legislatively, really my goal is always just to serve as a resource and so that whether it be Speaker Demuth or Senator Howe, who represents our area, or any legislator that I have a relationship with, I really want them to know if they pass legislation, how that impacts and influences us here in Paynesville. And I think that's something that we all can do as we contact our legislators and we have conversation and have an opportunity to just share what legislation looks like in action when it takes effect. Thomas and I are going to be at the Capitol on March 9th for the MSBA and MASA joint day at the Capitol. And then I have an opportunity to go again on March 26th for the region MASA day. Those are really good opportunities to, again, share kind of our perspective as things move through, raise concerns or support, and really just serve as a resource. So that's gearing up. So in regards to the budgeting forecast, we are planning on a 2.69% increase to the formula. Last month I reported 2.7 instead of 2.69, so I wanted to make sure that I clarified that for you. And then at the March 9th board meeting, we'll really begin by revising the budget and then talking about the 26-27 budget recommendations. Any questions that you have for me on that?
I guess I have a question. Is it your responsibility or how, I guess when we're down at that MSB and these various vendors talk about, well, you can get grants. Well, my theory behind that is the poorer you are, the greater chance you are of getting a grant. You kind of get penalized for having a positive balance, or how do you go about getting some of these grants for like security, food, various things?
Yeah, so it very much depends on the type of grant that you're looking for, whether or not our district would be eligible or we would meet the very specific criteria of the grant. So it really kind of depends on what it is. Some of the programs that are grants for like the safe schools, we may have some of the things, they might be grants to put in a camera system, for example. Well, we already have a camera system, so do we, it wouldn't be applicable to us. So it kind of depends on what the grant is that is being applied for.
But who kind of looks in it? Is that kind of what you do then, or?
There's really, it's, so I might look into grants for, like maybe it's a grow your own. So if we had a shortage of special education teachers and we wanted to bring our paraprofessionals along, I might look for a grant to support that process. So it's going to kind of depend on what our needs are as a district. Our technology department could look for grants that would support technology needs. Our principals could look for grants that would support academic, like an academic trial, if there's a program that they wanted to be part of. So
I know we did the speaker system thing, but I mean, it's done now, but I guess I always kind of wondered, and of course then this January, I just kind of asked around, but like you said, it depends who you talk to and it depends on the grant too, but I'd like to make sure that we're leaving no rock unturned as far as, because unfortunately you hear stories about people not even filling out an application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been in contact most recently with DEED and so the Department of Economic and Development. What's the other name? Employment and Development. Economic Employment and Development. Thank you. Is around the child care initiative. There's a lot of grant money that is supporting development of childcare. Well, we're not quite far enough in the process to apply for the grant because you have to have a lot of your logistics pulled together to put into that grant. So there's a lot of legwork that has to be done. Now, what's hard about that is many of those are matching programs. So you have to show that you have some money up front, and then a grant might match some of that money. But in order to get that money up front, usually you have to know what the costs are. So there's a lot of moving parts to accessing some of those bigger grants.
And I think some of those things have been kind of maybe set aside with what's going on in the country as far as, embezzlement of funds and stuff. So I think there's a lot more eyes looking
There's more
around.
scrutiny, for sure.
Scrutiny is the word, yeah.
Yeah, yep. And I don't think that's bad because then the people that are awarded the grants, it's going for what it's intended to go for.
Yep.
Grant writing, unfortunately, it's a it's a very laborious process and some of them are extremely competitive. So you really want to make sure that you maximize, when you have something written, you do it multiple times and submit it to multiple
Push.
hard. Yep. So, yeah, that's a great question though, Ron, about the
I did
grant.
stumble onto one down at the MSBA conference the one year. And we hadn't heard about it here yet.
Okay,
And I brought it to the administration and they got it to the correct teachers and our teachers got the grant.
oh, perfect.
But
That's
our
a good
teachers
example.
here are really good at looking into grants and writing them. If you stumble onto one somewhere and you're wondering if they know about it here,
Just pass it along.
let them know.
Mhm.
They'll get it to the right person.
Revenues and expenditures have been updated, so you can take a look at those as well. But otherwise, pass back over to Rachel.
Okay, hearing no questions, moving on to committee and organizational reports.
Just for that Paul's meeting that we had, and
Okay.
we'll hear about that.
Discuss that later, yeah. Okay, hearing nothing, we'll move on to the student representative report.
Hi guys. For NHS, they're doing, I cannot pronounce this first word, sorry. A ceremony on March 29th. They have 15 new candidates. They're hosting a blood drive March 18th, and they're hosting the middle school spelling bee on the March 25th. SAD, they're hosting interviews for new board members and doing activities with the elementary school. FFA, we did Teach Ag Day with the first graders today, actually. We're getting ready for region contest and state, and it's National FFA Week this week. So we're going to be going around on Thursday with treats for all of the staff. And tomorrow we have spring tour. I know we're going to a vet clinic, I think a bakery, and then we're going to this drink place where they make drinks. And
Brewery. I'm driving you guys.
No, it's probably not.
I think it is the brewery.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you're going to the bakery and the brewery,
And
and
then
you're
a
going
vet
to Leadstone.
Yep.
And then you're going to the vet clinic in Melrose.
Ron, are you
And
bringing
don't
them?
forget the pizza at Barnatelli's.
I decided that.
I
Yep.
think we might know our bus driver.
I got the privilege of getting to take them tomorrow. So
All right.
Good luck.
she'll be learning from me too.
There you go.
Good luck. That's all I have to say to you. For student council, we had Sweet Fest last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't quite remember off the top of my head. And that's about it.
All right.
Hearing nothing else, no old business, move on to new business. Policy review, first reading.
So I promise I'm not going to click through and walk through each of these policies because there are a lot of them. And many of the policies, as you are going to see and note, very, very minor changes. What MSBA has done is anytime, and this is one of the reasons why we subscribe to the policy service, is anytime that there is a statutory reference or a change to the reference, they will update and they'll send this out to the policy committee, and then we're able to walk through it and make sure that it really does, we stay up to date. So you're going to see many statutory reference changes, or there might be an expansion or a clarification of a definition, which has been clarified through statute or through the legislature. So that's a lot of what you're going to see in these proposed changes. The two areas that I do want to call out, let me scroll down specifically to the first one is policy 524, and this was on really as a proactive method in anticipation if we do need to move to a cell phone free school. We wanted to make sure that the policy was in a place that it could be incorporated into the handbook, which is where our procedure lives right now. And so the policy committee reviewed that with really the lens of making sure that we could do that if we need to do that, okay? The next policy is policy 535, which is service animals in school. This is a new policy to us, and we have not had this policy. The reason this is here is because our special education director, Erin Hoffman, brought this to our attention and said, if you haven't yet addressed so the 4 school districts that are in the West Central Ed district. If we haven't yet addressed service animals in schools, we should do that. And the reason for that is because sometimes just if in the absence of a procedure or a policy, it makes a determination if a student would come through with a request for a service animal. If we don't have a procedure, it makes it a little bit more difficult to, in that moment, say, we really haven't thought about this and we haven't addressed it. MSBA has had this policy for many years. In our ed district, 2 of our members already have this policy. And so what is presented here for review and what the policy committee reviewed is a recommendation from MSBA. Okay, so it will be this, again, because this is a new policy, I would encourage people to take a look at it. And if they have questions or comments, it'll be in the district office for the 20 days so we can have conversation. Or you as board members take a look at it and see if there are any questions. But it really is a pretty sound procedure just to make sure that if animals are in the building for a service perspective, they're serving the purpose of being a service animal or a training animal.
Would the board be interested in somebody coming to do a demonstration? We're Lions members and Leader Dog. They come out, there's no charge, and they do demonstrations like with a canine. That's something, if it comes to that,
Sure.
we could line something up like that.
Okay, thank you for that resource.
Well, even in school too,
Yeah.
do the demonstrations
Yeah,
in school.
Because they
too.
could come in and do it.
Oh, do it for the kids, you mean, and out of
Yeah.
Well, kind
program?
of do kind of both. Maybe come to the board first and then maybe
Sure.
do school.
Elementary or something, yeah.
To introduce at least.
Other than that, you'll see that the minor changes are going to be deleting references. So again, there was a lot that we walked through, and then you'll also notice that there are some that had October edits and February edits. Again, MSBA was catching up with what had happened in the legislative session, and so those edits are referenced twice. And then the very last document literally had a note on the top, which schools can delete. So the policy committee reviewed it, but there was no change to the substantive language in the policy. It was sometimes poor Miranda, she does a fabulous job walking through each of these, but these have all been reviewed and looked at and touched. And so they'll be out here for people to take a look at if there are any questions or comments on the policies.
Okay, moving on to the employee appreciation.
So February is, we have the National School Counseling Week, which is February 2nd through the 6th. And then February 18th is School Bus Driver Appreciation Day. So you'll see our, just a special note, calling out Jackie Campbell, our high school counselor. And then you're going to see a document that links out all of our bus drivers. Ron, thank you for being a bus driver as well.
This is so.
Well,
You
that's
still-
okay.
Yep.
There's no just a. You're
Nope.
still driving a
No,
bus.
Dog driver.
So just a thank you. I do, and I think that, when I think about our students' experiences on the bus, what they get onto and what they walk away from really does kind of provide bookends to their day. So it's greatly appreciated.
Okay, moving on to the review upcoming meetings. I did note tomorrow we have the Stearns County Collaborative at 8:30.
Oh, okay,
I just noted that now that it wasn't on there, so.
okay.
What do I think? I think everything else seems consistent.
Thank you for catching that. And then just a bolded notice, a reminder, Monday, March 9th, instead of Tuesday, because there were possible township elections.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I'm a judge for Roseville Township, so I'm here for that.
Well, let's not take you away from that duty.
Hearing no other comments, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion, sure.
Motion by Ron,
Second.
second by Jacob, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned.